Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. So welcome everyone to Voice of Customer to Voice of Manufacturing, closing the gap for exceptional product quality. Our speaker is Hardikkumar Patel, who is currently the Vice President of Global Product Quality Engineering and Reliability at Lifelines. Hardik has also played a pivotal role in driving product excellence and launching high-profile innovations, including the Apple Vision Pro and Peloton's flagship bike and tread products. His deep technical expertise, combined with a people-centric leadership style, makes him a trusted change agent for quality transformation and operational excellence. Um, some housekeeping rules here. This is a 45-minute session, so we'll end right at the 45-minute mark. If you have any questions, please put them in the chat, and then at the end, I'll ask Hardik the questions. And if we don't get those answered, we'll be able to get those answered in the networking sessions later on. Your presentation, all the presentations are available through the website. So you'll be able to get a copy of this website or presentation also. Hardik, go ahead and take it over.
All right, thank you so much, Lee. Hey everyone, I hope you guys doing good. My name is Hardikkumar Patel, as Lee mentioned, and I'm going to talk about voice of customer to voice of manufacturing for getting the exceptional product quality. Um, so why are we here? Basically, we all have been there where we buy the products and they don't meet our expectations, or the quality is not that great, or reliability is not that great of the product, and at the end we just end rendering not using it, or it just goes to return or goes to scrap. So basically today what are we going to talk about is we're going to talk about what are the common mistakes that company makes that led them to a product which customer doesn't love, or customer doesn't cannot fit in their day-to-day life, or they are not very satisfied with the product quality or reliability or the usability. So we'll dive into it. So it's a simple agenda where we'll understand the gap, then we'll define the definitions of each and every phase, and we'll go how we can bridge the gap. And I'll share the tools, techniques, and we'll go through case studies. I'll explain, walk through some of the case study that I have done in my past career and experience, and we'll go from there. At the end, we'll have a question answers. So to start with, where we see the gap is, so one side we assume that whenever any company wants to make a product, they think that they're making a product for a customer, and that's where the voice of customer comes into a picture. And then next step company does is trying to find, when they have that kind of idea of what customer wants to buy or what customer will need, they directly jump into a manufacturing side where, okay, what kind of manufacturing need, what kind of contract manufacturer do I need? So that's big gap in between, where people don't translate that voice of customer clearly into a manufacturing, and that's a huge gap. And what that led to us is it's increased the business failure. The product doesn't get successful, it doesn't get success, people don't like the product, there is a brand image risk, there is risk of returns, cost of poor quality, customer dissatisfaction. And sometimes there are many times there are, in this competitive world, you really miss the opportunity of getting your product out to the market, and that's why you miss the market. So that's a big gap right now. And how can we fix that gap? So the simple answer is we have to have design for manufacturing in between. And when I say design for manufacturing, means it's we have to close the loop from voice of customer, that you want to build the product, you understood that customer wants something and you want to provide that service or product, from that to a manufacturing where you are trying to ship out the products. There is a whole chain, there is a whole process that's most of the company miss, and that's where they lose so many of the issues that we just saw that they face. One of the example, there are a couple of examples where there was a time, one of the example is definitely Google phone. So Google was trying to launch their phone, and they were always expecting that they can build a good phone. They were able to deliver the phone on time, but they were facing a lot of manufacturing issue, and that was the reason, because they didn't have clear understanding of what kind of customer they're trying to target, what kind of design they want, what differentiator they want to have in their product from the current products which are available in the market. And that led to the delay on the launch. That led to product not having the first initial products were not expected as higher quality products, or customers were not happy to buy that product. And that's where it's come to a picture where when we see the example of Apple, they go through thorough study, they go through understand what kind of customers they want to target, what kind of design they want to follow, what are the different steps that can convert from design to manufacturing, and then they go to manufacturing and do rigorous validation before they launch product. And that's where so many times the products, almost all the products that Apple launches, very successful. So basically, when we close the gap, what happens? You win the market. Your products are hero products in the field. You have a loyal customer base that's going to keep coming, keep growing. And then there is a lot of higher customer expectations, increased sale profitability, lower losses, lower returns. So it's all green. It's all green land when you understand and you close that gap. So I'll start with basic definitions. I'll take a step back and understand what is voice of customer. So it's a simple definition is like what customer truly wants. So you trying to understand what customer wants, and that's a big question. And sometimes it's easy things that you observe on social media. So many times you hear from the people, so many times you see other products, or you use the product by yourself and you see the gap in the products, and that's where you think that I want to fill that gap, I want to solve that problem that's currently available in current products, and they are not solving those problems. But on top of that, there are many other ways to collect those, which we'll go through in detail later. But basically, what we're trying to understand here is what customer truly wants. And from there, we want to translate that expectation into a product requirement. So we have to understand what customer wants. We have to prioritize those their needs, their expectations, the features, the cost, the target people that we are targeting, and translate everything into a product requirement. And that's what calls voice of design. We have to have that strong voice of design from the voice of customer. And from there, we go into manufacturing, voice of manufacturing, which is build at scale as per design. And so many times you see people saying that I have made a product by design. Even quality folks talk about, hey, this meets the design specification. This product is perfect for according to design. This meets the drawing, and we all know that that's definitely true when it comes to manufacturing, when it comes to each and individual product or individual working in the factories or any companies. But actually, truly, what we are saying or what we want to do is we have to build we have to build as per design which delights the customer. So that's kind of missing part that we have to always close by voice of design. And if we close that very well, then definitely our voice of manufacturing will be exceptional, and that will meet that they will close the gap between voice of customer to voice of manufacturing. So I'll dive into strategy. So what kind of strategy should we have? So basically, what we're trying to say here is it all has to be connected. Voice of customer has to be fed into voice of design. Voice of design has to fed into voice of manufacturing, and from there, voice of manufacturing should meet those voice of customer. But at the same time, we have to have our continuous looping back from voice of customer, which warranty claims and a lot of other ways that should come back to voice of manufacturing as well as voice of design. And that's where we can, as we close this loop, we have awesome products in the market, and that's what everyone wants, and that product wins in the market. So going a little bit deep into that strategy. So basically, what we want to do here is, as a first step, we want to identify the voice of customer. Then we want to design the products around the customer. We want to account manufacturing capabilities during the design. From there, we want to define the key manufacturing specifications, and that's where we will monitor and improve. And when I say define the manufacturing specifications, means whatever we have identified as a critical to customer, that converts into critical to design, and that converts into critical to manufacturing. And that's what we want to control and make sure that we are continuously meeting those criteria. We are meeting those expectations throughout the manufacturing. And there will be a lot of cases where, that might deviate or there will be some issues, but that's where we have to monitor continuously and improve. So going into a little bit details, strategy wise, I'll walk you guys through what kind of strategy we have and what kind of tools we can use to fulfill that strategy or fulfill that step by step gap. So identify the voice of customer. Basically, what we're trying to do here is collect the customer feedback and analyze them, prioritize them, and make sure that we have right priority for right customer. What kind of customer we want to target, what kind of market we want to target, what kind of cost bracket we want to target, and based on that key information, we get that voice of customer. And the tools we use to identify those are, there is a different kind of tools, it's mainly divided into two slots, qualitative and quantitative. Basically, there are multiple customer interviews, focus group discussions. There's a customer feedbacks channels, multiple customers feedbacks channels. These days, social media is huge. You can get a lot of feedbacks from there. Then we understand the social listening, customer journey mapping. So there is a lot of ways to understand what's customer wants. And on the other side, in the quantitative ways, which is gives you more kind of numerical identification, which is survey, questioning, net promoter scores, and analytics and products users data. One of the example I can give you here is, probably you guys are all aware about the company called Dyson. So when Dyson launched their first product, which was the hair dryer, they really did thorough customer interviews. They literally did the surveys and they identify what are the gap, what people want, and the answer they got was they heard the problem from customer that the hairs getting damaged through the current products. It's too noisy so many times. The current products doesn't meet their reliability expectations, and that's what they really hear. They heard those voices and they try to solve that problem. So that's a great example where how you identify the voice of customer for your product and making your product. Next step is how design around the customer. So basically, once we prioritize customer well, so basically we prioritize what customer wants. That's where we have to convert that design and convert that into what features do we need which meets the customer requirement. We want to make sure that we go through different scenario of actually how the products will be used, how the customer is going to day-to-day use, long-term use, and all the scenarios while designing them. Make sure that we consider the customer usability and accessibility and align all the aesthetics of the product based on what customer expectations are. And the different kind of tools we can have is definitely one of the tools that we discussed before is customer journey mapping will be the big one that we always use to understand what kind product we want to build, what kind of use this customer will have for this product, and how they're going to access, what are the pain points, what can be done to make it easy, and all the great thoughts and discussions. And next is prototyping and co-design. So definitely prototype it, use it, and understand. There is a multiple design workshop happens. I remember in my current company right now where I am, we are a startup company, but when we design any product, we start with what's a customer, and then we have a full workshop across, and we don't include only design team, we don't include any manufacturing team, we have cross-functional team participating, because every person in the company is our customers, and we think everyone thinks differently. Salespeople thinks differently, manufacturing people thinks differently, the marketing people thinks differently, engineering thinks differently, IT team thinks differently, quality thinks differently, and that's where we combine the whole feedback, combine the whole discussion around what we are building, and include those feedbacks and make sure we solve all the queries, problems while designing the product. Another great way is always do external testing. So that's what we have been doing. That's what I worked in different companies, and even I know different companies who make the products. For example, Shark Ninja. For example, Apple. For example, Lifelines, currently what we do, Peloton, we always constantly had external user test, where we ship the products, people use it, give the feedback. And according to my data points, even in Lifelines in Peloton, I have that exit number where 45% of the issues we solve through this. We find a lot of early issues, we find a lot of early pain point which is not convenient for customer to use, which are not reliable for customer, which are not does not fit the customer's day-to-day life, and we solve those issue and products becomes a hero product. And then definitely at the end you have to do higher accelerated life test to prove your design and make sure your design will fulfill your life cycle life cycle expectations as you design and as customer is expecting. For example, when we're building uh, a mixture grinder, you want to build a mixture grinder which can last around 5 to 10 years. You don't want to build a mixture grinder where people buy it's awesome, but then it dies in a year or two. That's not what the hero products is. Hero products is it meets all kind of requirements from the customers, and it fits into their day-to-day life. Going to next, so once we have that design expectations, we go into considering those design expectations into manufacturing capabilities, and that's where we go to a next step. Once we have that full design, once we know what we want to build, what are the critical things for customer, what kind of design we want, what kind of look we want, what kind of user scenario will be, and that's where we go into manufacturing capabilities, where we select the right materials, we do the right process selection. And when I say process selections, means manufacturing and process selections. We understand what kind of tolerance we need and we optimize those. We do design specifications, simplification, standardization. We do multiple tests. We make sure that when we convert design into manufacturing, there are right enough pokayok's error proofings in the design in build. So when it goes to manufacturing, we don't face those issues, small issues that we see in so many companies, so many products. We have to make sure it's efficient, and scalability can be done. And all these things can be done using different tools, which is uh, design failure mode analysis, effect analysis, which is the key tools that so many companies use, so many people use. And basically, what we're trying to understand here is we want to make sure that we detect early failures, we detect early inconvenience that customer could face in future, so we can solve them right there through design, and from we include that into manufacturing. So that's what the biggest gap we see so many times, that design says something, but the manufacturing say, hey, I cannot meet your tolerance. I cannot fit. I cannot make that product which meets your CPK, and that's big issue. And that's where so many companies, so many products has a lot of scraps, a lot of rework, and that's what we want to close the loop here, where we go through thorough risk assessment, which is the DFMEA. We go through finite element analysis, which gives you of how the structure is, and it's a detailed study that actually led to a lot of problem solving. We understand the GD&T. We do tolerance stack-up analysis, design for assembly review, design for X review, manufacturing analysis softwares, design for Pokayo. There are a lot of techniques that we can use here, a lot of tools that we can use here that can solve that. We can make sure the design has manufacturing accountability into it. And I'll give you one of the example. When I was working at Apple, I was working on Vision Pro, and during the early, I think it was right after prototype phase, around engineering to EVT to DVT, we used to follow NPD process and engineering validation to design validation. We had an issue where our we started doing one test, which we expect that people is gonna do that. So without sharing so much information, I'll give one of the example where when people how the people handle product in day-to-day life, how the people are gonna put the products, carry the products, store the products. That's one of the great scenario that when we went through, we thought through, we replicated different scenarios, and we found issues. And that was one of the things that we wanted to really address early in the design, and before we go to manufacturing, to make sure we meet the design expectations. And when we went to manufacturing, the solution was we had to change the material. We had to select the right material, which can withstand all the wear and tear and vibrations and the way people are going to use the product or carry the product. So those are the uh, great thoughts that help you through customer mapping, which you go through in detail in early phase. And as early phase you go, you get better and better products as you go into the mass production or you go as near to launch. So yeah, these are the different tools that uh, always helps you to understand that is your design is for manufacturing or not. Basically, the simple question is DFM or not. Then from there you identify so many things. You now have a design which can be manufacturable. You have a design which can convert into manufacturing. Now you have to focus into making sure you have a right specification in the manufacturing which can convert or which can make sure that design expectations are continuously met and we don't deviate from their expectations. And what are those strategies? We have to have a right quality management system across the manufacturing. We have to have process capability validation, equipment capacity. We have to identify what are the critical to quality stations, specifications, features. We have to identify the measurement system analysis. As there is a control and monitoring involves, you have to have right control systems, right measurement systems to make sure that what you are seeing, what you are measuring, or what you are inspecting is the right, and it's not overkilling or it's not escaping. So that's very important. Then process error proofing and continuous tests. So we hear this story. I'll give one of the example. When I was working at Peloton, we had NPD process follow, and we follow that. We do all the reliability test. We used to do all the early accelerated life test, life cycle test, fail to test. We had multiple tests we did before we launched the product, or even before we qualify the design. And one of the things that we always hear back from customer, or one of the gap we saw was once we qualified the design, we had millions of products in the market, and at halfway we started seeing some of the issues that we did not detect in the regular manufacturing inspection or test. And that's what we wanted to that's where we identified that there is a gap, and one of the gap was continuous test. So once you have that design qualified, once you have manufacturing process qualified, you have to have clear monitoring and control. And one of that is not just manufacturing process control and monitoring. We have to have some of the tests that can replicate if there is a small change in the material, there is a change in due to weather, there is a change due to different conditions in the factory, there is a change into raw material that supplier did not let us know. There is a lot of scenarios that we face day to day as a quality or as a manufacturing that can lead into a long-term product failure. And that's what we want to make sure that we have continuous tests so we can detect those early and we can meet those customer expectations. And the products, whatever goes out of factory, is flawless. So as I discussed, what are the tools we can use? So for manufacturing, we can make sure we have process failure mode effect analysis. So we make sure each and every station's process is covered. And whatever risk we identify, we have to have a right control plan in place to make sure we have right monitoring, right controls, and the work doesn't stop here, right? Control plan is, a lot of people think the control plan is you have a new product, you develop a control plan and you are done. You are gone. No, control plan is something you have to have live. PFME is something you have to have live. There's some change. There's some feedback from the customer. There's something, some issue you find at the yield, at the inspection. You have to continuously revisit that PFME and control plan to make sure it's up to date based on the current manufacturing capabilities or current manufacturing processes to avoid any kind of surprises. And then other things, we definitely have to make sure that we do CPCPK validation through different tool, Minitab, Jump, whatever you use. Do proactive tools like occurrence and release and quality tools, which make sure that every station has go through thorough thorough risk assessment to make sure there is no risk. If there is any issue can happen, we can detect or not. So it's a different kind of tool which needs a little bit depth knowledge. If you guys need that, so I have a lot of tools mentioned here. But if you guys want to learn more about any of the tool or want any kind of format or anything like that, please reach out to me. I have those, and I can share that. Then next is ongoing reliability test, which I mentioned, continuous tests. You always want to have that to make sure that as a long term, there is nothing crazy changing. Definitely the sample size will be low based on the company cost and how the company is, what are the products, but you have to have some kind of reliability, continuous reliability test to make sure the products continuously meet your customer expectations. Then training metrics for the people, and definitely one big word, which again, it can be its own topic, but Industry 4.0, which is which is related to IoT devices and getting the live data, making sure that we are making the right decisions through the data, and which is the big part about making sure that those specifications, manufacturing specifications, are set, so we can make sure that when they go out of specification where something deviates, we know that that happened and we can take right actions. And that's where we go into the next, where how we monitor, how we improve, which is manufacturing data analysis continuously. And Industry 4.0 is, I mentioned in this specification phase, but that's where it really starts. And we use it here, where we have to have right field data analysis, root cause analysis, solutions development and validation, implement the corrective actions, and we have to set metrics and monitor. So basically what we're trying to say here is we have to have our eyes and ears open here through inside metrics, external metrics, and we have to make sure that we hear a lot of feedback from everywhere, and we make right actions. We fix those issues through root cause analysis and right developments. One of the example I can give you here is um, there in this world, social media is huge, and you can have a lot of feedback from a lot of different places. We sell our products on Amazon when and we have our on social media presence very well. Even when I was in Peloton, Apple, everywhere, right? Every consumer electronics company I worked, we have a good social presence in social presence everywhere. And one of the things being a quality leader is always keep your eyes open. I always spend some amount of time, and it's difficult. You have a lot of work, you do your job, but my my way of thinking is always hear the customer, and the best way to hear the customer, the products I was working on was social media. Uh, on top of warranty analysis, field data analysis, scrap, rework, there was a lot of learning happened through social media, where when I hear some of the feedback from social media, when I look at my field data or warranty data, I see similar cases, many similar cases. So what helped me to look at the social media was I see one issue, and when I look at my data, there is more issue. So that was very quick, good feedback as a quality leader to inhale that, to make sure that we understand the root cause and have a right plan for corrective actions. So that's kind of monitoring improve throughout the phase, very helpful. And that's where some of the tools is warranty claims, field return, service report. Once we have those data, we do the right analysis. We do the root cause analysis and solve the problems. And the big thing is always close the loop. That's a full goal of having monitor and improve. That you have to hear the process, you have to hear the data, you have to hear the customer and take actions to close the loop continuously. So basically, that's what that's a whole cycle from starting from I'll go back a little bit here, starting from hearing the voice of customer to launching the product which can be successful, and there is always continuous analysis happens. Now, one of the case study, which I think I mentioned a lot of case study, lot of examples throughout this, but one of the case study I want to share is the it's a publicly available data, but the Shark Ninja was launching their product, and it was Ninja before it was not Shark Ninja. So when Ninja was launching their product, they did survey of customers. They got all the feedback from the customer. They heard what are the issues customer has, what kind of limitations the current product has, and what customer really wants. And really understanding that, they started developing their design, their product, and they started putting products out to customer. They just started handing over the products to customer to use. They started their own different kind of test, and they had a good documents where they understand how, like, day-to-day life of customers, how they're going to use, where they're going to place the product, how it's going to look, how customer is can abuse the product, what kind of scenarios or what kind of people they're concentrating. They did a lot of study before launching a product, and we can see right now where Stock Ninja stands. They went through thorough customer feedback. They went through thorough design validation by test, user test, their own test, their understanding of day-to-day uses or life of the customers, UI interactions, and easy of use. And from there, they went into finding that all the risk into manufacturing. They convert that right design into manufacturing, made sure that they have a right partner, we have right material, they have right processes in place. And from there, they had good quality team. They had continuous feedback on data collection. They used to collect all the data. They used to collect customer feedback. They continuously did testing. They never stopped testing. One of the things which surprised me is the Shark Ninja was never stop. They never stop testing their life cycle, reliability, any kind of test. They continuously, even today, once they have, even though they have a millions of products in the market, they still do the same test again and again, and they keep learning and they keep improving. And that's a goal that we want to have as a product development company. That we want to have a product which is very perfect for customer, and that's how you become a hero product. There are a lot of other cases due to time restrictions. I'm not able to share, but feel free to reach out to me. I can share a lot of insights, a lot of stories, even on Peloton, Apple, Whirlpool, current company, and how we handle from customer voice to launching the right product. Um, this is kind of, I don't want to go in detail, but some of the tools company use, I'm just sharing, which as a quality, you always think, okay, I understand that, but how do you do that? There are a lot of challenges in day-to-day life, a lot of challenges that voice of quality is not heard in a lot of companies. So basically, you want to do this as a quality leader, as a quality person, but how do you do that? So that you have to have your leadership buy-in, you have to have your company buy-in, you have to have your full design program management buy-in. But basically, what you can use is, there are a lot of tools. One of the tools, a lot of automotive company use this, is APQP, Advanced Product Quality Planning, which has a different multiple steps of starting from product, starting from understanding the customer to product design to mass production. There are different phase gates. There are different processes that has to go through, and we make sure that the people make sure, the companies make sure the products are met those specifications, and there's always continuous loop, closed loop. And then another way is a lot of consumer electronics products, like I would say Google, Apple, Meta, even any consumer electronics products, KitchenAid, Janair, Whirlpool, they all use this NPI process, which goes through their idealization to product definition to prototyping to engineering to validation to design validation to production validation into mass production. And that's where it's really, again, when you follow this process, that doesn't mean that you have awesome products. You have that there's a lot of chaos into this process. Every phase gate, you have to have your close cross-functional alignment. You have to have right people working on right things. You don't want to cross checkbox by having those tools used in different phases, but you actually want to make sure that it's meaningful and it's actually helping to solve the problems or identify the risk, and we are closing the loop. So that's where being with quality, that's our main concerns and job comes, right? Where we have these phases and there is a different activities, and that's what we want to work cross-functionally very closely to make sure that we work with cross-functional team, right dri, right person at right phase gate, to make sure that we don't just check the box. We actually do things for doing it, and that makes sense, and actually we get out of something, and not just shake for doing. I mean, I have an example where I have seen a lot of companies who does DFMEA after they are into manufacturing, and they do that just to cross the box. It's like, oh yeah, we did the DFM, we meet the EVD requirement, we can go to PVT. And there's a lot of people who does PFMEA control plan after they're in mass production, and they never look at it. I have experience in one of the company where there is a PFMEA and control plan store, and when I asked that from supplier, they said, hey, we haven't updated. And when I saw the last date where they update or they open, forget about update, they open was 1.5 years ago. And that's not the right way you use these tools. You have to use this tool and close the loop, as I mentioned, that it's live documents that you hear from the customer, you hear from the process, and you have to continuously feed in to that different tools, and use the right and different tools to make sure that you are closing the full loop of solving the concerns, solving the problems that customers are facing or any manufacturing or design is facing. So basically, to wrap up this, what I would say is the key takeaway here is, if you want to have a hero product, you have to close the voice of customer to voice of manufacturing. You have to make sure their manufacturing limitations and capabilities are built into design. You want to make sure that you have a right manufacturing specification defined, and you are monitoring right metrics defined, and you're monitoring that. Always keep your eyes and ears open to everywhere. As I said, there's a lot of social media presence right now for all the consumer electronics products, even every kind of products, and you have to make sure that you are focusing there, you're hearing them, and you're taking actions to that. And continuous improvement is always there to make sure that you hear and you take actions to every feedback you hear. In short, what are we trying to hear the customer, use that for the design, make sure the design has manufacturable, and make sure that manufacturing excellence is there, and always keep eyes ears open. And finally, what I would say is the key takeaway here is the product that meets specifications but not expectations is a failure. But the products meets the expectation through a line execution is the legacy. So that's what we want to build as a product. That we want to make sure that the expectations are aligned through executions throughout the product development cycle and continuously until the products are in the market. All right, so that's all. Thank you so much for being here, for listening, and yeah, I'll open for question answers. Lee, if you have any question.
Thank you, Hardik. Excellent presentation. We've got a number of questions. Very short time though. Do you have an example of a customer journey map, or can I find with a web search?
I mean, I have that. We use that as a quality. I can share. Reach out to me offline, please. Hit me on LinkedIn or this is my email. You can reach out to me email. I can share that.
Okay. Next question. What are the steps of social listening?
So basically, it's kind of depend upon who you are, right? And it depend upon that what kind of product you have. If I give example for me, and a lot of colleagues, a lot of people I see around, is there is a lot of reviews from Amazon. If you sell the products on Amazon, there are a lot of groups on Instagram. There is a lot of group on Facebook. There are a lot of posts on Reddit. And again, what I say when you hear from social media is you don't absorb everything. You have to keep your eyes and ears open, but you don't take everything, because one of the example I'll give you is in Peloton, we had strong presence in Facebook, and there was a huge group of moms and different dad and different kind of athletic people, and they always used to post their issues, and they used to solve the issue by internally. The people say, hey, I have this issue, and they're like, oh, do this and do that. So that also helps you to make sure that like how many people are having similar issues, or that helps also where there is a unique issue that you can understand those unique issues. So basically there are a lot of tools in this, right, in current scenario where you can use, but just you have to spend some time and make sure that you are spending your time in the right place, because everyone's time is very precious when you are working in the quality and any job. But being a quality, you have to hear from everyone, and that's what I do. I tell my whole company, anything you hear about any quality issues, any customer feedback, any improvement feedback, reach out to me. And it's a lot of work sometimes, but it's very helpful.
We have time for one more. When this is a long one. When a company operates in B2B selling to OEMs, is there any benefit in interviewing and understanding the voice of customer of the product's end user, or how can voice of customer be adapted for companies selling to an OEM B2B?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So basically, at that time, your voice of customer gets double, right? Because there is a lot of lot of experience I have, a lot of examples I have where I work with the supplier and we have our own product, and the pain point from supplier, or I would say our contract manufacturer, is uh, how are you going to use this product, how are you going to use this component into final product, so I can make that, I can understand that requirement and I can design, or I can manufacture, or I can control my manufacturing accordingly. So the simple answer for that question is yes. You have to understand the final product, how it's going to be used in the final product. So there is a lot of automotive industry who has their product goes to their ODMs, and they use the products into the final product later on. So it's always key to understand what those final products will be, how the products will be used. And second part you have to understand is the integration, how your components are getting integrated into the final product, and what are the different scenarios that can fail, that can have an issue, and think about that. You can repeat that. One of the example, I mean, so many cases I've done is we have gotten a final product, and we play with that with our component. I would call it component, to make sure it fits and the final product experience is awesome. So you have to consider that whole chain of final product to your component level, and understand that you are taking care of the whole experience, whole product, voice of customer, basically.
Great, great answer. We've got about 2 minutes. I don't think we have enough time to take any more questions. But as you said, you're open for people to email you, so that's perfect. So thank you, everyone. We're going to go ahead and close this out now, and have a good evening.
Yeah, thank you, everyone.